Senator Doug Jones. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's so great to have you here. Listen, how do you feel on an election night? Are you tuned in like all of us? I mean, you've literally been through this, or do you unplug? How do you take in a night like this?
Well, I try to unplug, but I can't. It just keeps kind of drawing you back in. And so, look, I'm optimistic about the Senate. Clearly, it seems that Republicans are going to take the House. I don't think that's any real surprise, but I'm optimistic about the Senate still. And the fact of the matter is, given history and the historical headwinds that the incumbent party always faces in the midterms, I think Democrats are doing pretty well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had a show earlier today. This is our special show. And we had some callers say that they feel like the DNC doesn't invest enough money in races in the South, like in Alabama or Louisiana or in Arkansas. And you won in Alabama. Do you think the DNC is making a mistake not putting more money in states like yours, or is it just these states are blood red and it's just too hard to win? What are your thoughts, Senator?
Well, they haven't always been blood red. We've let them become blood red, and we can change that again. But it's not a question, in my opinion, of putting it into races. I think one of the problems Democrats have is that we tend to put money in races. Every election cycle, we go from one election to the next. We go to a shiny candidate, that might have a chance, or even a candidate that is a great candidate, but running against somebody Democrats just despise. And so they throw a lot of money in that. What Democrats don't do is that they don't invest in the infrastructure necessary to compete on a year-by-year basis. You've got to do more than simply put money in races every 2 years. You've got to work at the local level. You've got to get in Board of Educations. You've got to get in city council races and mayor races, nonpartisan races. You've got to play in those, and you've got to build an infrastructure and talk to people, go where they are 12 months out of the year, not just in an election cycle.
Can I just say, Senator, when you were on my show, it was a few months ago, I believe, I got so many tweets saying that Senator Doug Jones was incredible in Alabama. They said he was a good guy. They said he was incredible. Reese, did you have a question?
Yes, Senator Jones, it's good to see you. I've had the pleasure of being on panels with you multiple times. What you're talking about to me gets to the point of credibility. And credibility is a cumulative effect of coming to these communities. And one thing I appreciate about you is, even though you're no longer an elected official, you still do a lot of Black media. So can you just talk about kind of the importance of reaching out to different demographics in between election cycles and even when you're not on the ballot?
I think it's incredibly important. And that goes with what I was saying a little bit earlier. You should never take anybody's vote for granted. You should never take a demographic group for granted. It needs constant nurturing, and you got to go where people are, and you got to talk to them about the things that they care about, understand their cares and concerns, and try to build your brand that way. Right now, across the South in many places, the Democratic brand's just not very good, and that's been years in the making. It just didn't happen overnight. It's been years in the making by Republicans, and it's been years in the making by neglect from Democrats. And so we've got to continue to go to the churches. We got to continue to go to the civic associations, and we got to go in the rural areas. We got to hit working class folks. We got to get every demographic, because at the end of the day, we've got stories to sell. We've got stories to talk about, and we care about people. And that's the real key. But we got to let people know all the time that we care about them.
Senator, I think I speak for a lot of people, especially our listeners, and we're having people calling in because they're sad about Florida, who are afraid that, God forbid, we lose the Senate. There are some people who feel like that it is the potential end of democracy as we know it, that Republicans are showing that they're never going to give up power. You've been in the Senate. You've been on the ground for a long time. I'm scared too. Am I overreacting? Are people overreacting? Are we going to be okay? God forbid it's not where we hope it will be.
Clay, we're going to be fine. We're going to be okay. We're going to have, if the Republicans take the Senate, we got some rough seas in front of us. But we cannot stop. Everybody is tired. Everybody wants to get this election behind us. But at the same time, on Monday of this coming week, Donald Trump is likely to announce for president. And we can't let up. We've got to keep our foot on the gas. We got to remind folks. And again, I don't think this point should be emphasized enough. And that is the fact that we were going against historic headwinds. Traditionally, the party out of power loses 30 seats in the House. And we may or may not lose that many. It may be less than that. I think it very likely will be less. If it's a Senate, if we lose the Senate, it's not going to be by about 1 or 2 votes, and we've still got the presidency. And we've got to remind people of who we are and what we're doing, and start setting this up for 2024 so that America can understand fully what's at stake. I really don't believe right now that America fully appreciates what's at stake in this election because of inflation. And this is not being critical by any stretch, but people vote on the things that are in front of them, and high gas prices, inflation is right in front of them, the concern about the economy. So in the next 2 years, if Republicans take the House, they need to do more than just investigate Hunter Biden's laptop. They need to show the American people what they're made of. And I don't think they can do it because they don't have a plan. Biden and this administration does have a plan. So I am still optimistic. I still think we're going to be okay, but we're going to have some rough sailing, and we just got to weather the storm and keep on it. We just got to keep persevering.
Senator, before you go, I meant to ask you this question the first time I spoke to you, but I got to ask you now. You were in the Senate for 2 years. Please tell us what's really good with Senator Joe Manchin. Please, I call him a Dixiecrat. Maybe I'm going too far. Please, Senator.
No. Joe is anything but a Dixiecrat. I can just tell you. I know where his heart is. But at the end of the day, Joe's an institutionalist, number one. And he believes in the Senate and the way that the Senate has operated. Robert Byrd was his mentor. And so in terms of the filibuster and those rules, it takes a lot for him to move off of that. And he's also seen, by the way, he has seen what doing away with the filibuster on judges has done to our courts right now. And so it comes from a good place. It really does. At the same time, he is more conservative than many in the Democratic Party, probably most in the Democratic Party, but yet he's still there. He is a Democrat from West Virginia, which means he's going to be more conservative, but he is by no means a Dixiecrat. He cares about people. He cares about people of all races and religions, and I can assure you he is there to try to do what he believes is both the right thing for the country as well as his own constituents. And I think folks need to accept that a little bit more. Clay, one of the issues that Democrats face, and we've always faced this, Democrats have a big tent, and we've got people from all stripes, and we've got a big tent, and that's something that we should absolutely celebrate. We celebrate the diversity in this country. Well, we need to celebrate the diversity in the party, but at the same time, everybody needs to come together. Everybody's got to compromise a little bit within the party to progress and to do some things. That's why the Inflation Reduction Act was passed. It was one of the most historic pieces of legislation, and Joe Manchin helped get it across the finish line. People should remember that.
One more question before we go. Take it away, Reese Colbert.
Yes, you were instrumental in the appointment of SCOTUS, our Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Just want to get your thoughts on how she's been doing so far. She's put forth some really incredible arguments. Just want to hear about your thoughts on that.
Oh my God, she is just amazing. I think it's going to take her some time, but she's going to be a force on that bench. I think you saw that in the first few arguments that she has had. She is incredibly, she's just, not only is she brilliant, but the way she can cogently make her arguments. I think she just took them to school on the Voting Rights Act.
Yes.
And that is what is needed. I really think that she is the type of justice that is going to make an impact. Very few justices make an impact immediately, but I think she is off to one hell of a start. And at the end of the day, she's going to be able to bring some people around. And I'm hoping, quite frankly, that she ends up I told folks we went to the swearing in, the ceremonial swearing in. It was so moving. It was so dramatic to see her assume the bench and take that vacant seat after being sworn in. And for the first time in America's history, the Supreme Court of the United States looked like America. It looked like America. Now, with her in elect, with the way she is going to move that court to where I hope they will start acting like America.
I know that's right. Senator Doug Jones, former senator of Alabama, I want to thank you. I often think about one thing you said to me, that the beauty about this country, that it was destined to be a multicultural society. That was its destiny. And there's folks who have fought against that, but that is the only way this country can really survive. And I think about that when I get exhausted and I get fearful and all that. So I just really appreciate you coming on, Senator Doug Jones. I thank you so much.
Well, Clay, thank you so much for having me again. And I hope people do remember that, because that, while as important that is, it also instills some fear in other folks. And we need to understand that. And that if we can get through all that, we're going to make this country will continue to prosper and be the greatest country that the globe has ever seen.